keeping it football, though, I did see this yesterday. We do have a lot of stuff to get to. We will talk about the Red Wings as well because you have to. We'll talk to my son coming up in a little bit also about the dishes situation that we touched on yesterday. A lot of rumor and innuendo, a lot of talk, a lot of chatter on the socials about Calvin Johnson and the Detroit Lions. And even Calvin's coming out public about it. And that, D-Mac, is what really made me raise my eyebrow. Calvin said, I have a lot of experience that I can share with those guys, whether it's football or off the field. And that's Calvin Johnson on helping the Detroit Lions in the
Jim
future.
Rome, I believe.
Jim Rome it was?
Yeah.
So there you have that. And look, I noticed, and you know Calvin to a certain level.
Real well?
Yeah. He's been on Big D Energy before. We've talked to him about it. He's never been this open about it before, D-Mac. That tells me that there's something to this. And again, I'm not speaking for Calvin. I'm just giving you my interpretation.
Well, from my experience, and this is what I love about Calvin, and he's always been that way, is he's more the quiet and reserved guy, but he's like all the great Hall of Famers I played with. They're very aware of their surroundings, and they take in all the information. And I'd say that Calvin's cerebral, like in that way that Steve Yzerman can be in a room and everybody telling him what to do and sitting around and him just sitting there going, okay. You really don't know what these people are thinking, right? You know that they're thinking, but they're not as transparent. As to say, if you're in a room with me, you know exactly what I'm thinking, right? That's the comparison.
Really?
We saw that, and I said this. I said this when we had, was about a year ago, not quite a year ago, when we had Calvin on, because some of the questions that we were answering, and he'll take it there, and you saw him opening up and being more comfortable being open. I think a lot of it with Calvin too is that he wasn't front and center as one of those guys in the media. So when he talked, it made sense. He's just a reserved guy. What I see there is somebody who's absolutely comfortable, 100 in who he is as a man, as a person, and sometimes, putting things behind. So to me, I look like it as he's throwing whatever, and we don't know what goes on. All we go by is, hey, last time Calvin was at Ford Field with Sheila Ford Hamp, she got booed. People showed their love to him, and the whatever the money, all this little disdain between the organization and him. He's coming forward, and things are bigger, because sometimes you gotta, if that's just a little thing holding you back to where you want to get to. So on and off, and I agree that health and wellness and all that different stuff is a huge part of not only for like the football, but obviously for all athletes, and having that communication. So who else would you want? He's the greatest receiver of all time. I look at it, and we saw this with Barry. Have you seen Barry become more part of the organization and do a part and be stuff, doing draft picks and stuff, like being around? We could say that. So hopefully this is what we'll see with Calvin too. But it's the comfortability in him calling his shots. That's what it is, knowing who he is and what and the purpose it is. And honestly, I believe that it's more so to help the guys off the field than it is on the field.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Alex Haggerty brings up an interesting point. He says Calvin specifically mentioned Mike Dissner and how he's been the one to spearhead the mending. That was interesting to me. And Alex, me too, because for those that don't know, Dissner's the COO of the Lions. So that's
what
at the top.
Does that tell you, Neil? You tell me
that it's at the top, so it's important to somebody over there.
It's important to me. What if the COO's involved, right? That means that comes from the top.
Right.
That means it's important to Sheila. That means it's important that to everything that we're building, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and the culture, this is all part of it, getting the whole thing. And the fact that Sheila, it seems, is aware by sending the COO on this, and Calvin being transparent, and sometimes that's what it takes. And move on. And yeah, feelings are hurt, and I still got my ass, I'm salty at a bunch of things with the organization from history, but it doesn't remove me from being down and being a part and moving forward. We communicate, and we try not to be in that position again. And Calvin's the first one. If he wasn't happy, you wouldn't hear from him. He's proven that. So now the fact that he wants to come around, that shows you that as a fan, he sees something that they're building also and wants to be a part of it, because he feels a part of it. And I know that he didn't win, and for us that guys that are alumni retired, and even if we won, we feel the same way. We want these kids to experience it, and this team and the organization and the fans, and to go through it. And so Calvin Johnson, part of your Detroit Lions organization, can only be a positive.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Kirk Ford says, I don't trust Calvin anymore, the way he bashed the Lions in retirement. And Kirk, and I'm not coming at you personally. I've seen you around here before. I value, you as a member of the WoodwardSports.com community. If anything else, that makes me trust Calvin more because he's real.
Absolutely. And you know what?
Real.
Sometimes it takes your top guys to stand up for something to be done. And if you want to go, how are things different? How is it not same old Lions? Well, it seems like it's not same old Lions right from the top from Sheila, because this is important, because seeing and relationships and communication and making it the fan experience. So I just think that this announcement only adds to the pop she's going to get when she makes an appearance at Ford Field, because the fans like me, like the rest of us out there, that feel that this is a good thing. So I do, Neil. I think that's 100% because he ain't afraid to step up for what he believes and what's right and wrong.
Tragan Cure Studios says Barry sort of bashed the Lions in retirement as well. And again, just kind of keeping it real. You know what I'm saying?
It was different. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, if you want to... It's so frustrating, right? And I get it because you've done it, but it's the same thing as saying, hey, D-Mac, 20 years ago you did this and you were that. I don't know that person. I'm not the same person as I was then, and I know I'm responsible for doing some of the stupid shit and whatever, and I can't change it. But that's the whole thing with the Lions organization, and I think that as Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and all these things, you just look at the why, Neil. Look at the why. Now all the pieces where things are starting to come together. And you know what? Barry and Calvin deserved to say anything bad about this organization. Do you not remember where we was? Where's the revisionist history, guys? The way that these guys were treated and to be able to walk away. So the fact that things are different because you got them to come back home.